You're going to the facility whether you want to or not." He stood by the dining room window, arms crossed, waiting for me to break down in tears or drop to my knees and plead. But I didn't do a thing. I didn't move or say a word. I just watched him. I wondered silently if this was truly the son I had raised. The same one I nursed with broken, tender breasts. The one who slept clinging to my robe when he had nightmares. How does blood turn so cold? I didn't answer. Not because I lacked the words, but because if I opened my mouth, my very soul would spill out. He scoffed, annoyed by my silence, and said he couldn't keep supporting me, that I was complicating his life, that his wife was tired, that this wasn't a life for anyone, as if I were a burden, an overdue bill, an old box cluttering up the living room. He told me all of it without raising his voice, with that calm that hurts worse than a scream. I could only think, what did I do to deserve this? But neither he nor anyone else has any idea what a mother keeps quiet. I walked to the kitchen as if nothing were wrong. I boiled water and brewed some coffee. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the immense strength it took not to cry. I sat at the table and slowly took a sip from my mug. I heard his voice from the next room talking on the phone with someone. He said the assisted living facility had an opening, that he would take care of everything, that it would be resolved in 2 days. 2 days. That's how little I'm worth, that all it takes is 2 days to get rid of me. I clenched the rim of the mug. I remembered the years, all of them, the good, the bad, the times I ate less so he could eat more, the nights I stayed awake caring for his asthma, his fears, his own shadows. All of that. All that I was and gave now amounted to a decision made without my voice. I knew this day was coming. Not exactly like this. Not with those words, but I felt it in the way Marcus had been looking at me for months, as if I bothered him even when he breathed. I noticed it during meals when we barely spoke, in how he closed his bedroom door the moment I passed, in how his wife treated me like a guest whose stay was almost up. But that phrase was the final blow. When he walked back into the kitchen, I had finished my coffee. I asked him in a quiet voice if he wanted me to make him dinner. He looked confused. Maybe he expected a different reaction. Maybe he wished to see me on my knees, screaming, begging. But I wasn't that woman anymore. I didn't make him a thing. I went to my room, closed the door carefully, sat on the bed, and right there in that moment, in the middle of the night that was just beginning, I decided that if anyone was going to make decisions about my life, that person was going to be me. Marcus doesn't know who I am or who I was or everything it cost me to get here. He conveniently forgets that I also had a life before being his mother, that I wasn't born old or frail or tired, that I once dreamed, that I danced in the rain, that I loved wildly, that my heart was broken, that I started over, and that I built everything he now wants to take away. He forgets that this house doesn't belong to him, that I raised this house with my own hands. I worked 30 years as the manager of a local bakery, clocking in 6 days a week just to pay for every single brick, every window pane, every flower in the yard. I only slept 4 hours a night. I never asked for anything, not even thanks. But of course, memory is selective when it's convenient. I didn't sleep that night. I lay looking at the ceiling, remembering every detail of my life. The first day I saw this lot when it was just dirt and hope. The day I brought newborn Marcus home, wrapped in a yellow blanket. The Christmases, the laughter, the fights, the makeups, everything was stored within these walls. And now he wanted to put me in an institution as if I were a prisoner. I didn't cry, not because it didn't hurt, but because I wasn't going to give him my tears. The next morning, I woke up before everyone. I prepared breakfast as always. Marcus came down with his usual expression, that mix of haste and distance. He told me he had to go out to handle some paperwork and that we would talk later. I nodded. When he left, I went to the closet, not to pack clothes. Not yet. I went for something else, a small box of dark wood that I've kept for years. Inside were my most important documents, deeds, my will, and some savings that nobody knew I had. Not a lot, but enough. There were also letters, photographs, old clippings. I sat on the bed with the box on my lap, and for the first time in a long time, I smiled. He thinks I'm weak. He thinks he can decide for me, but he has no idea everything I've endured and what I'm capable of. I closed the box again. I put it back. I had to act calmly, intelligently. It wasn't time to show my hand yet, but the game had started, and this time the one moving the pieces would be me. That night, I pretended to be tired. I went to bed early. From my room, I listened to Marcus talking to his wife. They were saying the place was nice, that it had a garden, that it was well kept, as if they were describing a resort hotel, as if a mother were a thing you put on a shelf. I pulled the blanket up to my neck, not to protect myself from the cold, but from their contempt. The idea of leaving no longer hurt. What hurt was that they believed they could decide it without me, but they would soon understand. The next week was going to change everything, and this time I would have the final word.